Hello, everybody. Good evening. This is Dr. Rao. I'm sorry I missed yesterday because I was ended up on the highway at the time. We were coming from airport and we were delayed and we could not get in there, right? Uh, so I'm compensating for today with the same topic today. Uh, Hopefully, we will carry the same discussion today. Um, See, the title was Be Yourself, you know, uh, the real self, inward self, right? If that's the case, then the right question could be, what am I? It used to be the who am I was taken, and a lot of discussions happened for thousands of years, in ancient times, right? Uh, what is it? Are we this flesh and blood and just the thoughts, or are we something that animates this flesh and blood and thoughts? Obviously, we know now this is awareness that animates our um, jada. Jada means inert body and inert uh, thought mechanism, right? But then somehow we're still stuck on that we are this body, we are this mind, and then we go through all the turmoils that both body and mind goes through, right? So I just want to bring in that simple question like, who am I really? Or what am I really? What am I seems to me more appropriate question where we know we are that energy that animates our body and mind, right? Whereas uh, thinking there is another entity in us is kind of tough. But identifying with that energy that is animating our body and mind is much easier. So, um, once again, good morning, good evening, everybody. I am Dr. Rao Kulusu. I'm an internal medicine physician, kind of semi-retired now. I'm taking mostly calls from home and consultations from home, but I'm also an informatician, and I'm also involved in high tech for the hospitals and clinics and myself. I'm very much AI embraced person now. I'm also student of ancient wisdom and advanced practitioner of yoga for a long time now. So I combine both modern medicine, which was my training, and also my understanding, my insight into ancient wisdom in terms of our relationship to the nature and also our health, right? Following natural principles of the ancients in which is embedded in their practices of yoga, ayurveda, vedanta, and all these systems really helped me to balance myself, to come from within, and have the relatively um, healthy and not taking any medications, trying to keep up the energy and keep up the joy and peace within. So I preach wellness, which I practice the four pillars of wellness: the food, exercise, sleep, and calm the mind. Those four pillars I talk about all the time, and all my instructions in my wellness club with yoga, pranayama, meditation, starting there, and then employing a equanimous mind through the day and rest very comfortably at night time, and really free of the stress and burnout that is very common among my colleagues. But I'm not saying Superman or anything like that, but learning some skills and ways of living um, helped me to have this resilient self within. Not necessarily strong and big body, none of that, but more like a taking life as it comes with equanimity, with peaceful mind and loving heart, and compassionate heart for other beings and all that. So uh, when you look at like that, if you look at the fundamental questions of what is a human being, what are we, where is the initial thing for us, So we are not just to be there as a fit survival of the fittest. It was there at one time, but we are not animals anymore. We are human beings with intelligence, right? So we can think, we can remember, we can imagine, and we can be conscious of what is going on. Okay, that kind of human being who is evolved um, should be able to respond to the life and its vagaries, like up and down, um, good or bad, good and evil, or pain and pleasure, all the dualities with equanimity. How do we do that is by understanding our physical nature, by understanding our reactive nature of the mind, and then really being above that, about the body, about the mind, and for that we have to know who we are. What is that that animates us? What is it that gives us this consciousness? A conscious being. So that is the question that is employed. Like, who am I? From there to see what am I is I am physical body. I have. I'm not. I am. I am not the body, but I have the body and I have the mind. So have means somebody is having that. Who is that I? Where does it come from? What it is? That was the big question for civilization, for age old. And then there were people who kind of investigate into this question for centuries. And then they ended up saying like, I am this awareness of body and mind. So that awareness behind the body and mind is me. And that is what am I is. I am that awareness. So you are aware of the body. Body is not aware of you. You are aware of the thoughts. Thoughts are not aware of you. So awareness is your fundamental core entity. That is the answer to the what am I or who am I. So once you understand the benefits are body becomes an object, thoughts become an object, then you can handle them much better. Try it and see it if you have not tried it already. So just standing apart a little bit from the mind and thoughts and emotions and your physical body itself reaps dividends in your life. Okay, you'll be able to watch the thoughts, see the negativity, and transform them to positive. That's called Pratipaksha Bhavana, cognitive reframing, right? So I do recommend people to take deep breaths, calm your thought, sit down with no movement of the body or the facial expressions or the speech. Just sit down and close your eyes and be aware of the thoughts going across your mind. And you will be seeing thoughts slowing down because of the deep breath. And then as they slow down, you can identify whether thoughts are negative or positive. Once you see they are negative, you can transform them to positive, right? That is the other step. And then you can focus on one thought and go beyond the thought and find out you are the peace, you are the happiness, you are the bliss. That they call Sat Chit Anand, that is beyond thought. Sat means existence. What is existing all the time? Is this life force, is the energy, is this awareness. And that has the body and the mind, right? So once you understand that, then you will be stationing in that existence, which is the consciousness, which is also the blissful thing. So you will start having lot of aches and pains in the body and then crying about it as you become older, you can watch them and reduce them by stretching and breathing and all that, right? And then also doing hatha yoga, basically physical yoga. And if you're having a lot of racy thoughts, really scattered thought, you want to bring them together so that you will have mental peace, you know. And then once you slow down the thought, once you identify each thought, and you go to one thought and go beyond the thought, then you know that you are that awareness. And then once established in that, you can choose to think, but you are not going to be led by the thoughts. So that's the beauty of it. I hope it makes sense for you. So anybody wants to come and talk about this or tell me what you think about it, you're more than welcome. Otherwise, I'm continuing on this topic, how I had to come to this, because we were raised to think. You have to think, and you have to think good. You have to think of other people. You have to have deep thinking, good thinking, and all that, which was fine when we were getting up. And then don't identify with your so many attributes that you get, right? Your name, your family name, and your um, belonging to certain city and belonging to certain groups in the school. You're belonging to certain school. You're belonging to certain state and country and all those things, right? And then slowly you come out and go into the world. And like me, from India, I went to America, and from America, I visited so many Europe and other countries, right? So you will see then that the people are just the same everywhere, except that they identify themselves to be something else rather than being aware of who they are. And once they identify that energy, that humaneness, and human being is the same everywhere, right? Then all the patients that came to me from different countries, in America, different countries people live, right? They all come to the doctor, but the complaints are the same, the behavior is the same, the way the human beings react to illnesses may vary a little bit, but essentially same fear, same anxiety, same crying, same kind of feeling bad about losing loved ones. All those things I have seen. So out of all that, those people that were there in the ancient time, they really wanted to find out who they are in their true self. You know, that kind of people really had a life of equanimous nature, had a life of really understanding why they have to take the investigation and what happened to them after they found the answer for themselves. This is not given to them from a textbook. This is not given to them from somebody who is an authority, but it is given to them from somebody uh, who is not a like a instructor like in modern days, but invited them to investigate, and then investigated. Then they found that the answer for themselves, and that did not happen just like that. They had to go through a lot of practice on that too. That insight happened because they calmed their mind down. Okay, that was the story. Hopefully, many people will undertake this kind of investigation in modern life. But what is happening is a lot of people are ending up thinking a lot and taking that as the deeper thinking. But stalling thinking, keeping it silent, is very much needed for this kind of investigation to happen. And when that happens, you are peaceful, you are happy, and you are blissful by yourself without anything. And that's a wonderful thing to have, I think. You will not be addicted to anything, and you will not be dependent on anything, and you will not be really have to convince anybody. For yourself, you can see. And these people who saw that, they were called rishis. Rishi means the one who can see beyond the senses, beyond the intellect. They have perception beyond the ordinary senses and then also ordinary intellect. So they have understood a lot of things much beyond the scope of modern men who are confining themselves to sensory um, you know intake, and also intellectual analytical intake. Those kind of thing is not going to reveal you what is behind them. It will only make you stuck in the sensory perceptions and then intellectual perceptions, but not beyond that. So this was not like a few hundred years or few years. It was like thousands of years of really probing into the question of who am I, has revealed that to people who are really beyond the ordinary thinking, right? Their minds are not restless, and their minds are really peaceful and blissful, in the sense they don't have the dullness, they don't have the restlessness. Awake, quiet, silent, and alert. In that alertness and silence, you will be touching this underground, which is your underground, which is your substratum, we call it. Once it is there, once you are in that substratum, which is responsible for everything else manifesting, then you know you are there. That is the question. That is the thing you want to put it like a, what am I, or who am I? You know, I think the better question will be, what am I? That's what I was saying. Um, hello, Sanya. Hello, Ivy. If you guys want to come up, you are more than welcome. This talk I missed yesterday because I was delayed at the airport. By the time we came home, it was already 8 o'clock. So on the road, it is very noisy. So I was not able to do the talk on the car. Very windy and very in Chicago, right? So it's a very windy and very um, busy road too. So we had to focus on the car driving, and also that noise. I don't think anybody would have heard me. So I missed that yesterday. So I'm doing the same room today. There are people on the wisdom also. Anybody wants to come, you're more than welcome. So that was my topic this today. So one of the questions that came up when this predicament was posed to us back in 80s. If thinking is not me, where are the thoughts coming from? And you cannot find out if you are in the network of thought. But if you are beyond that, then you can find out. That's a simple logical thing anyway. So the requirement was, can we keep my mind quiet? Can we keep our thoughts quiet? And that was the exercise that is given in yoga, where you can stall the thinking, stop the thinking, unnecessary thinking, at least in the moments that you don't have to think. But then the more and more people became more intellectual workers, um, they are using their intellect only all the time. It has become more kind of grounded in itself, and so they are used to always using the senses or intellect. So they are never able to calm them down because they are beyond their control. That's what happens with a lot of the modern people, right? But Luckily for me, I was exposed to this thinking um, much earlier than I took a real investigation into it. I heard about them. I have this uh, awareness, intuition, and all that, but never really took an investigation into that. But after this question has come, one of the things that I was told was keep the question with yourself for several days. Don't answer it. Just to probe into the question, ask it again and again, and be with the question. If you come up with a quick answer from a textbook, from somebody said, and all that, then you will not have the opportunity to go deeper into yourself, right? So that is one that I was able to do. And then the question itself reveals the answer. That was another thing, but that is like a first hand experience. You cannot take answer from somebody. You got to go into that, and then you got to probe into that. The deeper you go, the deeper awareness, the happier you become. That is the other thing too. Anyway, all in all, everything worked out. Then there's a clarity you can't imagine before. That clarity is itself is reward, you know. And once the clarity comes that what is what, you keep them in their places. Body in its place, mind in its place, thoughts in its place, emotions in its place, and not to be overly influenced by them is you. The inner core, inner energy, inner being, once you are there, basically that's not the mind. So you have no restlessness. That's not the body. So you have no pain and pleasure and all that, right? So you kind of take in there automatically. You don't have to do a effort. Any effort you do will be like another moment of thought. Then you are back in the square one. Anyway, all these things are first-hand experiences. People have to experience themselves. This is not to be learned with intellectual argument or conclusions or anything like that. Everybody can keep their own conclusions like that if they want. That's up to them. But if you want to take up an investigation by yourself, that is, I think that's the way to go about this question. What am I? Am I this inert body? Am I this restless mind? Or I am something behind these two that is animating my body and mind, right? So let's see, these ladies want to come up. Okay, send the invitation. If they want to come up, they will come up. Otherwise, this is basically not an instructional thing or not something, but just a posing question for people to take it up and explore. That way they will be able to understand these things are really. I don't know what's happening. Why Sonia is not coming up? I'm asking you to come up, Sonia, but I don't know what's happening. It's entered invitation. It says, yeah, there it is. I don't know. This is misbehaving, Sonia. I'm sending an invitation. Oh, there you are. Finally. It is kind of rejecting that, Sonia. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. No, I had to tap on my profile and then accept the previous invite that you had.
Okay. But it was giving me the red bar all the time. Angela is here too. So what do you think about this question, Sonia?
I think, because it's interesting.
Mm-hmm. That's fine. This is not a test or anything. It's just friends we are talking. That's So I mean, this is pretty important question as far as I'm concerned. You will be peaceful and calm and quiet within yourself. That is basically what happens when you really understand this. So no psychiatrist is needed, no guru to dominate over you is needed, and only your intelligence and calming your mind. That is what is needed. So it's something within your reach, provided you kind of calm your mind and look really what is what. Then uh, there are so many health benefits. There are so many, uh, you know, in life. It depends. So many things happening outside. You may be monetarily troubled. You may be having so many social, racial things and all that, but in your own self where you are. Actually, this is called uh, fulfillment to the utmost. So once you touch that, who am I, or what is that energy that animating my body and mind, and you really that is supposed to be a spiritual fulfillment, in the sense there's nothing else to go, and then this on itself gives you such a fulfilling feeling. You don't need to strive for anything else. Okay. So, and how are you, Angela?
I'm great. How about for you? Thank
I,
you.
I am talking about what I feel all the time. That is, who am I, and what is that thing that animates our body and mind. Pretty deep philosophical thing, but that has to be taken by individually and investigated within themselves. It's like a first-hand experience thing. So I thought I will talk about this. That is what I mean by be yourself, not your so-called put-together personality or ego or body and all. I'm not talking about that. Be yourself means be your real self. That's what I'm talking about. You see, um, wonderful thing if you can tap into it. And then there was thousands of years of investigation happened in this.
Did you want us to answer this or?
No. Question yourself. That's all. Question yourself and take the investigation and go into it. See, it is not something that can be answered with words. It's not something.
No, I thought you was asking. I was listening to some, yeah. But I would answer it only with words. I can actually say, what am I? I am part of the universe. I am the stardust of the universe, spreading the joy and the love.
Yeah. Actually, they said that in a beautiful way. They said that which is created all this is completely fulfilled, and that is there in all of us. In the sense, if we realize that that is the root of everything, then we are fulfilled too, because that itself is enormously fulfilled, right? But then we kind of interfere that with our small thinking, small conclusions, and small knowledge. And that is where we have to realize we are doing that. Then you get out of it, that kind of thing. Anyway, I my very first talk in Wisdom App, when I talked there a couple of years ago, was this talk. If you really realize who you are, then you are the healthiest person. Even if you want only physical health and mental health, self-realized people are, they lived long, they lived mostly in joy, and they lived very peacefully because their mental anguish is not there, or mental crowding and all that. They were very peaceful. They were able to connect with nature, connect with the other beings very easily, and they have this subjective sense of well-being and the joy. And that is a fact. And they lived for a long time. They lived well and they lived in joy. Actually, I'm using that as my caption these days. Why they should really look into these things. Yeah. Have you heard about that? That people who are self-realized are very healthy people?
Yes, I was looking at Kristen bio. I started looking at some of the people down here. Yes, I feel that one.
Yeah. See,
I'm very connected with nature, and more happier. It's more peaceful.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, the connectedness. Yeah, the connectedness with the nature is real, because the trees are not out there. They are the ones breathing our carbon dioxide, giving us oxygen. In that way, they are connected with us in a very, it's like a one lung is with us and the other lung is with the trees. We are that tightly connected with the nature, you know. So when you feel that oneness, roaming around the nature is a real blissful thing, Angela. You know, as a gardener, you feel like you are raising your children when you are raising your plants, right? Because you gave the seed and then you let them build up, protected them, gave them water, and then when they grow up, you kind of tend to them, right? You give them nourishment and all that. So that way, you are nurturing life, and that life nurturance itself nurtures you. That's why it's so good for the soul when you are a gardener. You feel it, but you don't know what it is. But this is what it is. Then once you are connected like that, actually there's a beneficial thing from the nature. It kind of tends to you. It kind of gives you back that life that you need, on a daily basis, kind of rekindles you, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. Yeah, because we're just like a tree.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just like a tree.
Yes. Yeah. We are the tree, actually. We are part of the nature.
Yes, let me correct that. We are the tree.
Yeah.
From all the way to the tap root, up to the trunk, to the branches, which is our arms, and the top is our head.
Yeah,
and the lungs is like the open doors. So I drew a picture of that, like how the trees come up and with the layers, even though the nurturing part of the 3 layers on the bottom and the water that nurture.
Yeah.
And a lot of people call them shooters, but the shooters are really not shooters. They're really branches that actually feed themselves.
Yeah.
See, a tree is very important, and it feeds itself if you don't take care of it.
Yeah.
And we need to take care of it because one tree actually take care of 5 people. So you never know which one of them trees is taking care of your breath.
This aspect is very serious in ecology, Angela, because we fell apart as we are separate from the nature. We kind of use nature as a consumptive goods. All the things, trees or everything are there just for our use, rather than that is a life. We have to sustain life. For example, all the things that are going on in Amazon forest or in the deep seas, and we are kind of interfering with the life that is there, and our life is threatened because of that. The weeds and the other things that are going on, because we have this approach like everything is for our sensory pleasure, or everything is for our accumulation, and that's why we don't really pay serious attention to them, as though they are like our offspring that we want to nurture, or they are the ones who are giving us life that we have to nurture. And that's why drier and dry lands, now the consequences of the weather is all connected to that. So that kind of oneness of the life is lost, then the life is divided, and then one goes down, the other was also goes down. Now all the forests going down, then we have these terrible weather patterns where we're having droughts on one side, on the other side we're having so much of severe cyclones and all that. So I talked about this several times before also, because that is very plain to see for people who are nature lovers or who really consider they are part of nature. And there was a beautiful saying one time. One guy said, I don't have to have a home because I'm in the lap of my mother earth. So wherever I am, that is my home. I'm in my mother's lap. I thought that was beautifully said, and that was so true too. Then you are not confined yourself in a cocoon of a house that you built with, rocks and cement, and then you consider yourself kind of confined to that narrow part of the place, whereas the heavens are open to you, outdoors and everything. So it is a kind of how we. That's why they are not um, taken back by the snow, by the ice age, by the severe weather condition outdoor. But then they are really able to develop the acclimatization for that weather and then survive like that. Not that we have to go there, but at least have the sense that we are part of the nature, and nature is also our responsibility to take care of. That's what I'm talking about. What do you think, Angela?
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
I do.
And I know you do that. You are not only agreeing, you do the gardening. You really live with the nature. So you can easily feel it.
I do live it.
Yeah.
Thanks for that correction.
Yeah. I think she is growing, and she is growing the children and all that. Actually, gardening is a very good thing for the children to understand. Gardening will keep all sorts of um, uh, tenderness, loving nature, and really nurturing the life. All that is comes to them, and also they can discover the insects and all the small things and everything. They'll have more touch with what is going on. Unfortunately, with this technological boom, they are not shown that much. They are given more of this iPads and everything, and then people are hooked into this technology right from birth. That's why they don't have the sense of developing one with the nature. That's a sad thing. Girish, how are you?
Yeah, pretty good. How about you?
I'm very good. Okay.
Are you staying out of trouble?
I was never in trouble. So that is what we are talking about. You say? Yeah.
Yeah, you'll never admit it. Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe, or you can think whatever you want. So, why you have any comment to make about this question we have?
And the question is, what is what? What is I or who I am?
Yeah.
I've answered this question uh, late in my life, back in 2009. 2009 to be exact. And the reasoning why is because I realized that I was in the shadow of my loved one, which is my dad, and I realized that this is Bali's son. That's just how people they talk, right? And I realized that I needed to make my own identity. So I think I discovered my identity back in 2009. People realized who I was even after when he passed away. But I think it became uh, more visible in in later in time, like 2000, I don't know, 2012 to be exact. And people they realized who I was. I was in the shadow of my dad, and I think who I am is because of him for sure. But I think I had my own identity because the struggle that I was facing is if I need to be like him, how do I do that, right? Because he cares for everyone, he loves everyone, and he does everything for everyone, sacrifices for money, everything like that, right? How the hell am I supposed to do all that?
So Girish, this question is a little deeper. It's not about your personality, your identity with whatever you're doing. You grow up into. That's not it. It's about, are we this body-mind complex, or are we that animated spiritual light that is behind these two? And that is the who am I question that the ancient explored for years.
I'm going to say animated.
Yeah. So that is the one people don't feel anymore because they're so much entwined in the network of thought. And
I'm sorry I went on a different tangent, but but honestly speaking, that is really animated.
Yeah, that is
even whatever I said, I think it's still animated.
Yeah, but the thing is, feeling it or giving it a description is something different, right? So feeling it requires your regular mind to be quiet. That is the essence of the yoga, chitta vritti nirodha, and then feeling our real nature and all that. That is the one I'm talking about, which is very healthy in so many ways. And also there is a liberation that happens from the identities that you have grown to understand it is me versus aware of our real identity. That's a thing. So there is a small exercise I talked about before. I don't know, so Sonia may remember, because before you go to bed, the identities that you gained through life, can you put them aside, like your roles, your attributes, and all of them, just for the night, and then go and sleep on your being and see what happens in the morning. People have to experiment that. This is what I do every night. So it has become so simple now because I don't even harbor those entities in the data. So when you get up in the morning, when you sleep on the being, not on the thought, it is such a enormous resurgence of energy that people can feel. But that comes with deep awareness. It is not just going to happen just because you're cloud thinking or maybe shrewd thinking or thinking much deeper, you think, and all that. It's not the thinking part of it. It is out of the thinking and being in charge of the thinking. So that is very, very helpful, but calm mind, peaceful mind, and happiness within. What do you think, Jania? Do you remember I talked about putting the identities on the bedside and then going through the sleep?
Yeah, I even go as far as even make a list of all the stuff that's in my brain.
Yeah.
In my head.
Yeah.
Or mind or and then you set that aside, because once you put it on the paper, like it's just a little bit.
No, that is just emptying the reactions and mind. Yeah. This is about identities that you may have shown, like you are a financial planner, you are this, that, all those things will be there, right? That's fine. There's nothing wrong with them. But then don't sleep or during the day also, don't live on those entities while you are losing on who you really are. That is the bigger thing, And a lot of people, if they have that perspective that I am that real energy, then they can see everybody else also is the same energy. And that is the bigger part of it. That oneness that happens, then you cannot see this other person is separate from you, or you cannot do anything to the other person because the person is you.
As you know, I've been working on more of the balance.
Yeah.
One of the things is, when you identify just what you said, right?
Yeah.
On this, I've been all my life, in the pretty much on the financial industry, and so very identified. Yeah. And what happened to me in the relationship wise, because my job and my relationship at that time was very much intertwined, and so when those things are so identified, it allows for that hurt that when
no, it's kind of sustenance, like continuing the ego. I've seen people in some military people, they were all retired, but then still they put it like a retired lieutenant colonel, retired major, and all that, and then they go by that identity and they go on telling about what their experiences, all of that. And then if somebody doesn't really identify them by that, they feel like they were not really given the respect. Versus the rishis and munis and all that, they are kind of devoid of all that feelings and everything, and then they're psychologically so independent and strong, and they don't have to be identified by certain label. Not a scholar, not a seer, not a rishi, or anything like that. And that's why their insights into the universal truth is so pristine, because they have no stake in that. So that's why they were able to go to the truth and also utter the truth without any hesitation. There's no psychological fear, psychological this thing. So there's a lot in that. So identify is one thing, aware of that is another thing. So the principle, if you don't take anything from this room, just don't identify, but be aware of it. So it could be a financial planner. It's a very useful thing for a lot of people. That's a means, right? That's like a fuel these days in the modern society. People need to manage their money and all that. That is a service you are giving, but you are using your expertise of the whatever you learn. But if you are making it more like a service, and so that their lives will be more organized and they'll have more chance to be themselves and do whatever they want to do, and they are not exploited, that itself is a service. It doesn't have to be only the other way. This is a way to understand any job. Like my doctors, I tell them, right? You are there to serve the patient. Serve the patient. If you really serve the patient with full heart and no expectation, and you will be feeling much better than you think you are working, you are making money, you are using your knowledge to make few bucks or extra comforts or extra luxuries. Then you lost the purpose of service, and that itself, giving without any expectation itself, is the reward. So you can charge reasonably, but then that is not the main thing. You are doing the service. You are going to be there for the poor or the rich the same way. Then any profession will become closer to yourself. Got it, Sanya?
Yeah, the last year of doing it, I was really enjoying it, and it was effortless, and
yeah, exactly.
It's really very nice, and not only does it show on the team, but also show on the clients as well. So
this is about enhancement of our work, performance, and all that. There also came the discussion. Do we work with passion, or do we work with pursuit of excellence? So Vivekananda talked about this. If you work with passion, then you're going to secrete a lot of stress hormones, right? But when you work for the excellence and also work for the ultimate service, you will have the same passion without minus the tension. You see, your excellence do not go down, but your effort will be at the same level. Only thing is, you are working disinterested in your personal gain. Uninterested is something, disinterested in a personal gain is other thing. So this is a big value they put it with the monks in that order. So these monks, they get up in the morning and they will be going on doing servicing through the night, never getting tired. And then they go on from one after the doing the work itself is yoga for them. Doing the work itself is the worship for them. So that's why they never get tired. But when we get into this other rewards and what is in it for me, then people lose that enormous vital energy within. So that's why it's important to understand that what is that real me, and why can't I stay in that? Why do I have to be in this wasteful arguments within my own mind? And why do I have to just understand things instead of feeling what it is? So that's why I have seen rooms here, people engage in so much of talk. But if you ask them, are you really feeling this, or you just want to be heard and you want to tell people, oh, this is why I think, this is the validation because I'm thinking like this. Yeah, thinking and all that has brought us to this state, where all the things that are there are not really relieving the suffering that is causing to the planet and to ourselves too. So be aware, but not identify. Work with service, but not for the self gain. That kind of thing really works wonders. That's why, Girish, I have this energy. I don't have any problems because of that, not because of we have to hide something. Yeah, well, who is that hiding? That ego, right? That selfishness is not there. Then whatever you do, for me, it's called Sivagnana Jiva Seva. That means see that Shiva, that conscious being in everybody, and then worship that serve that then that becomes the Sivagnana Jiva Seva. But commercial people are really interested in external things only. I don't think they will understand, or they will have the opportunity to get in that energy and enjoy that. See, if I ask somebody, do the work without saying or thinking, I am doing it, don't look for the results, it's very difficult for a lot of people to understand. So if you don't have a see, that means you are understood. You are not the agent that you think you are doing, but you are beyond that, right? You are the same oneness, and then that agent is gone. And the rewards are not needed for you because your inwardness that you realize is so fulfilling, you don't need the rewards. There's a secret. This is the inner thing, Sanya, I'm telling you.
I was, trying to understand, how we did the kind of like when we did finish with the last of the meditation and our practices, right?
Yeah.
And what happens to us, right, when, we kind of become an observer, right?
Yeah.
And so I was trying to understand, like, looking almost out of the body kind of thing, right?
Yeah. The first thing is you are observer of the thoughts. That is for the thoughts to slow down. But the last step you are talking about is saying that when you breathe out, I'm not just this body-mind complex, but when you breathe in, who am I then? I am this conscious being, aware of that. When you are taking all the breath, all the time you are holding the life within you. That is what you are thinking about. So hum, that is, they hum nahum means you are not the body-mind complex. That is the step you are talking about. The meditation, what you say is when you take the breath out, breathing out, you let go the feeling that I am this body and mind, that you have realized you are not just that. And then you have the body and mind, but you are not the body and mind. And you are really that inner self, and you are breathing in and you're realizing that it is there within me. And that is what the first step you are talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really in terms of understanding who am I, right? If I'm not of either of those, then who am I, right? That's the part.
Exactly. I mean, just the word doesn't mean that you have realized it. You have to feel that and then establish yourself in that. That takes getting away all these unnecessary thoughts and extreme thoughts and everything. and also being able to stall the mind and use the mind by yourself, not being led by thoughts in whichever way they want to go. You don't want to be led by them astray. That's what happens because it's so powerful. The moment thought comes, people catch it and go. That's the thing, So
yeah, it's quite, because I I still go outside to wait for the sunrise, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like and to observe without thought, right?
Yeah.
This is kind of like the practice.
Exactly. That sun, when you see that, you can really feel that connection. If you see it with a silent mind, that's what happens. You are one with the sun and the nature and everything else. And once you are in that energy, that's a tremendously liberating energy. I don't want to say anything like that because people may think of different things, but you have to experience that. Basically, your mind is still, but you are connected with that, with awareness. That's what happens when you are connected to the inner Sat Chit Ananda I talked about, the inner being, and then that is real. That is not going to go anywhere. If you die, that energy goes to something else, but not never destroyed, eternal, right? So once you understand the eternity of it, the abundance of it, the surrounding of it, then you are so secure, so complete, you don't need anything. That's why you're always blissful, just by realizing that. People are so overcrowded with the thought, they don't have the room for this. You see?
Yeah, and interesting one is that I had a rabbit come and just also sit with me.
Yeah.
It's so fun. It's so interesting because I never. I mean,
no, this is
they never stay, right? But in this case, we were like half an hour.
Yeah, this is known because animals feel your energy. And this is very common. You remember that Sadhguru talked about this. He said he was meditating in the forest, and when he opened his eyes, there was 10 cobras around him, just staying there and looking at it because they get attracted to this stillness within you. And that's why there are stories when these people were in the forest, and then they get these lions and tigers come to them. They don't do anything to them because they don't discover the fear or anything in this man. That's why they come and go. So this is known. Even the wild animals together, they will be okay, but they may kill for hunger, but afterwards they are okay. They leave them alone. But man, with his mind, with his anxiety, fears, and all that, generates that energy that kind of scares them, and then they go away. That's why if you are not afraid, animals don't do anything to you. Even I used to see there are a lot of stray dogs in India, right? And the dogs will be roaming around the streets, and then they think the street is their territory. So if you go there, they will come at you, right? But then when they come at you, these people used to sit down, and the dog doesn't attack them when they sit down. They don't run; they just sit down, and then the dog goes away. I've seen it so many times. Even the snakes also I've seen so many times. In the fields and everywhere, they don't do anything to you if you are not having any fear and just stand there, and they will go away. Yeah, go to the nature like you're doing, son, and immerse yourself, and then completely absorb in it, and then be that one with that energy, that beauty that's going on. Don't describe it. Don't say compare it. Don't want to think anything else. Just be with that, and that's where the Pratipakshava, not Pratipakshana, what is that? Pratyahara. Pratyahara. That means that exercise where the sensory input comes to you, but you don't allow it to make a reaction within you. You are seeing the sunshine, sunset or sunrise. Just be at it. When it comes, you may have a reaction like, how beautiful it is, how different this is from. All that is movement of thought. None of it. Just be with that, sun, and then see what happens. So that is where people are not completely with it, because they have this movement of thought about so many things, comparing it, projecting it, or trying to hold it, or thinking something else, and all those things happen. So you can make it a meditative experience, Sanya, what you are doing.
Yeah, I just never seen those kind of things, like yeah. So
you see, you cannot compare, because each sunset is unique in its own. One day you may have fog, one day you may have clouds, one day you may have no cloud at all, one day you have glorious red to begin with, and then one day you may have dull red or dark red. So if you are comparing or analyzing it, you are going to miss that movement of what it is for that day. So test yourself. Am I with this movement or not? Am I having a lot of thoughts coming on? That's where, if you don't have restalling of thought, all the works you have done, everything else, they become like a brain fog and they come out with you. So when you are working, are you working with a lot of awareness or a lot of thought? Thought being used by awareness is okay, but thought dominating the awareness, there is a problem. Make sense?
Yeah, I'm working on that. Because
no, don't work on that. Remove that I.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
The small I. That's it. That's it. You remove the small I, then you don't have to work at it. You are in the real self. That is no movement of the mind. You should get this just like that. Then what happens is, when the real sun is exposed to you, you are completely with it, observing completely, being with the whatever comes in, and then appreciating it and enjoying it, and then don't allowing the thought to take it up and make it a big deal. Then you will be really blessed by the real sun you have seen at that time. That is where they call ananda, blissfulness happens, because you are quite within your mind. You are not even allowing a beauty, a full scene to affect you, that kind of thing. What we talked about is a very profound thing, Sanya.
Yes. Because you're right, I can't describe.
Yeah. That's why real creative people, when they are creating at that moment, they don't have any of this movement of thought. It comes out of them, But the more erudite, the more clever, the more shrewd, the more occupied with so many facts and figures and all that, those people are very difficult to get the stuff out of their mind. That's why they need emptying in the night and all. Suppose you don't accumulate, okay, and you are one with everything that you are doing. What is there for you to accumulate in the evening? Nothing. So during the day, when you are working, attend to whatever you do completely. What does it mean? You be with what you are doing, instead of thinking over it, thinking after it, thinking, before it and all that. Mechanical things, they're okay, but I'm talking about inner psychological reactions and all that. If you can do that during the day, this is one of the biggest secrets of good sleep. During the day, you are attending to each task that you have, right? Completely attend to it and don't have any remnant of it afterwards. Then you don't have a chance to empty anything because there is nothing there. This is like this. You have an empty space, right? Like, okay. And then you put all sorts of furniture into it. The room is overcrowded with furniture. To begin with, you have empty space, but then you put all these things. Then to have empty space again, you got to empty all the furniture that you put in there. Just like that, you accumulate your mind from morning till evening with all unnecessary thoughts, or also once the thought is you are not letting it go, and you identify or you remember, you project anything. Then when you are at home, all those things either go into subconscious or they bother you, and they will come back from subconscious later on. So this is like a working with meditative awareness. You remember I wrote that book, Meditative Awareness?
I haven't read it.
No, I have not published it. It's still there. Yeah, you see, I'm keep on. I'm keep on. I know I told you about the book, though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is what is about. What it is about. You don't have to read.
When did it come out?
No, I told you about it. We talked about the meditation. Then I said I wrote this book, and I am writing them. I'm forgetting of them because I have somebody calls me needing something, and then I get occupied all day. Today also, from morning till now, I was occupied with something or other. And then I wanted to do this room because I promised it, so I came on and did it. I enjoy the rooms. Actually, anybody comes or not, I do enjoy because I like to share. And then some people listen to this later on. That's why I know there is somebody who is listening to at least one person.
Yeah, I didn't realize, the same thing that I'm doing outside, that I can apply it with the working, right?
Yeah, exactly. That is where that secret of meditative awareness. See, what you are doing is you are working with a thought in the way that is going to be building more thoughts for you down the line. On the other hand, you are not working with the thought completely either, because you are distracted by other thoughts. Suppose you are doing a spreadsheet, right? And you are very attentive, you don't make any mistakes, right? Of course, computer does all the calculations. There's suppose you have to tally particularly important figures, and then you want to be focused on that, right? Like that, you want to be focused on anything you do. You remember the word I always tell you, attention to every action. That action could be a very minute one. That's another thing too. Each task has so many actions embedded in one that particular task. You got to go down, and that's like you are playing a flute. The flute, you have to put it like the lips, and then you have to use the hands to close some things and all that, according to, right? So when you're doing them, after you have gained some mastery, you will be doing all the successive actions automatically, right? But if you really want to be very good music, you need to know each one and then combine them. Awareness. Not thinking, just being awareness. So you do the same thing with your work too, and then go with the same thing to the sun. Then see what happens.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, it just came up spontaneously. We didn't plan it, But have the insight and go and experiment, then it will be your experience. I think that's a good segue for us to leave it like that, Sanya, and then you can experiment it tomorrow and tell me what happened. Okay.
That's great. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. I'll see you tomorrow then. Okay. Anybody else wants to come up and say anything or not? Okay. All right. Then we can close the room, Sanya. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Bye.